Evet, ara vermeden devam ediyoruz. Sırada Lauris, Lietavietis var. Sayıların öneminden bahsedecek. Welcome.
Thank you.
Stage is yours.
Is it working? Yeah? Microphone? Or not? Working? Okay, thank you very much. First of all, thank you for coming here. Thanks to Webrazi guys for organizing the event. I was here in March, in spring, and I see it has grown a lot, just like the internet. And it's also nice to be in Turkey, especially when there in the north we are having like real autumn. It's really nice and pleasant weather. So now about the presentation, but where is the presentation? No, it's not our. Tricky name. Okay, yeah, so, yes, no problem. So my name is Lauris and I represent internet research company Gemius. And I am here to talk a little bit about challenge of the numbers, what we are having every day, all the time, in many markets. What this presentation is going to be about, first a little bit shortly about us, then I will present few slides to show where Turkish market, how it looks like among other countries, then a little bit about online audience, about videos, finally about mobiles, and that will be it. About us, Gemius is pure online research company. We operate mainly in CE region, and basically we provide all types of measurements what is needed for online business. In around 20 markets, we are online measurement standard. We are proud that Turkish market, so big market, is among them. And the methodology what we are having is based on the panel. It's based on site-centric panel and user-centric panel. We gather data from both panels, and finally we are able to present the data about all internet, international websites, local websites. Now about the market comparisons. This is internet penetration rate and its change in year 2010-11. As we can see, still Turkey is among those markets which do not have that high penetration rate. However, it's about 40%, and 40% is actually some kind of critical point. That's when usually the fastest development of the market occurs. Also, as we see, the change, the growth has not been that high. However, again, market is huge, and that's mainly the reason. Of course, it's much easier to have higher penetration in smaller markets, as it is. About online ad spends, actually, here we see that Turkey is somewhere right in the middle. This is online ad spends per one internet user in euros. So it's quite good. However, of course, there is still quite a long way. Let's say if you are about to catch the Czech market, which is for a long time leading in ad spend per one internet user among all CE region. So what has happened? So what we've done, what we know about online audience of Turkey. However, first, I would like to illustrate a little bit what do we mean by numbers challenge and how we can reflect it in other spheres. Long time ago, it was like 1,000 years before our era, Chinese and Babylonians were using actually Pythagoras' theorem. They were able to construct right angles, 90-degree angles. Just they knew how to do it in the practice. And as we know, it's like a squared plus b squared equals c squared. But then came a guy, Pythagoras. It was already after 500 years. It was around 500 years before our era, and he proved this theorem. He put it in the numbers. Even though, as to common sense and as to understanding, everybody, not everybody, but people knew how to use it. And this is how actually his proof looks like. He used squares and their area. And the point is that the area of square C equals sum of areas of square A and B. And he used this idea also for proving the theorem. He was arranging triangles, and he proved it based on the areas. And actually, the point is very interesting, that in order to understand what's inside, he was looking outside. And same way, we can look also on the internet. If internet is on the middle, it consists of several parts, like, for example, websites, videos, and mobile internet. And of course, there is common understanding how it should look like, how the market looks like. However, it should be put in the numbers. And that's what we are trying to do. That's our challenge. And as Barney Stinson once said, challenge accepted. So what do we know about Turkish internet? I will compare here data from January and August this year. Since August is the latest data we have, August is typically months where internet usage is not that high. So in fact, we can expect that September, October, these figures will already be a bit higher. What we see, basically no really very significant changes have occurred, even though we see that even in August we have more internet users than we did have in January. How does the market look like when we compare it to other markets? Russia is leading market in the region, and well, not only in the region in terms of number of internet users. However, Turkey is number 2. And it's really, really huge. The size of the market is huge. If we look at other data, for example, number of page views per one visitor, so usage of internet, or time spent per one visitor, also usage of internet, we can see that actually Turkish market looks really, really good, meaning that people are using internet really intensively. And it can be compared, for example, to Hungary, which is quite well-developed market, quite mature market, and small market. And of course, in small markets, such things happen faster. So we can say that Turkish internet users are using internet quite heavily and actively. A little bit about audience. When we were presenting January data, we were able to notice that men are much more represented in the internet than women, and we expect that it will level up, like become more equal when market develops, which typically happens in many markets. However, as we still see, it has even slightly increased. So still, men are dominating internet in Turkey, and especially if you look at page views, meaning that content, how big part of the content is consumed by those different groups, we see that actually 2/3 of the content is consumed by men. That's a lot. So if you want to catch women online, probably you have to do some really wise planning. Let's look at comparison with some other countries. We see that, for example, Ukraine is 50-50, even though 2 years ago, still in Ukraine, men were more represented on the internet than women. We see that in Czech it's 52-48, which is quite typical. So basically in most of the countries, this is something like that. And we expect that this will move also that direction here in Turkey by time. Once we look at the age, it's quite typical actually, as everywhere, though with some differences I will show later, since market is still growing, younger age groups are more represented on the internet than the older ones, with the most active users, most represented, well-represented groups being 18-24 and 25-34. However, now let's look again at some other countries. And especially interesting is if you look at Turkey and Czech. So yellow and blue tab. What we see that here in younger age groups, Czech is lower than Turkey in all age groups, while it's becoming bigger in older age groups. So this is also a direction where the market will go. It will move to the more, let's say, older part. Older people will start using internet more and more. Now we see that it's much more towards the younger end. About top websites, changes from January to August are not really high, though there is one thing. In January, we were able to notice 12 local websites among top 20. Now we see only 10, if we look at the number of real users or reach. And about the reach, again, international brands are really, really high. Google and Facebook and YouTube, they are really high. And of course, this is something what happens like in all spheres, like we all know Coca-Cola, we all know McDonald's, and that's unfortunately or fortunately, that's just something what's happening globally. However, also local websites have potential to, let's say, fight maybe is a too tough term, but compete with global players. And as we see, if we look at, for example, number of page views per one visitor, we see that the picture is a bit different. There are much more local websites here on the top. So local content is good. People want local content. People consume local content. And local content is something how you can compete with the global power. And same about time spent. So what are the highlights we have noticed during this time, comparing January and August? First of all, the same. International players are really, really huge in terms of reach. And for example, YouTube has grown significantly during this time and grown in terms of users as well as time spent and page views. Twitter. And Twitter is actually exceptional, really. In very rare markets of the region, Twitter is so high as in Turkey. And it has shown significant growth during this time. Such service as Ask.fm. Actually, probably not so well known yet, but service which is right now growing very fast in mostly Eastern markets. If you don't know it, check. It's something not really Twitter. It's like kind of questions answers service. Interesting concept, but has grown really, really fast. And finally, also Yandex. Seriously, they have improved their positions. If we look at local brands which are in top 20, I tried to make some, let's say, power ranking, like when there are some sports events. Usually journalists make some power rankings, which team is the best, and it's changing from time to time, like when tournament goes on. And like offense wins the games, but defense wins championships. You cannot look at just one indicator and say that this is the brand. What I did here, actually quite simple. I combined 3 indicators, time spent, page views, and real users, and made some ranking of the local websites just to see what numbers will I get. And actually, it was quite interesting that I got really 3 groups. First group, second group, and third group, which actually, this is also visible in the charts if you look just at the data, and it was quite, again, you could guess this. However, it was interesting to see what the numbers say. So these are really, really strong leaders of the local market. Then we see two websites which were in the middle, and actually all these four websites basically were ranking out of the local websites. They were like last four out of top 20, with reach being quite high. However, it's interesting that page views number were not that high for these websites. Still, it makes sense because these are, at least to some extent, quite niche. Of course, top 20 is not all the market. There are also many brands outside it. And when I just went through the data, basically like top 40, these are some other brands which were showing really well-balanced data in terms of users, in terms of page views, and in terms of time. And of course, there are also much more services, even lower. Basically, any website can find something, some niche where it's strong. So what's happening now? And about online video, we are right now gathering data for online video, and we expect that they will be published soon together with IAB. Right now, I will share some total data of the market. And here I compare Denmark, Czech, and Turkey. First line is the number of people which are viewing video content. And what's important, not visiting pages with video content, but actually pushing button play and watching. Then it's time spent on videos. Then the number of sites present in each country in this measurement. Finally, the number of streams, so how many times button play was pushed. And in the scopes, number of streams per one visitor. As we see, actually, Turkey ranks quite high in terms of people who watch videos online. There is really, really good number of websites right now present in the data, because in many markets, this was something what was coming with the hype. However, it appeared that business is not going so easy, so fast, so well. And it's always like that. Hype comes before the real business. And as to the number of streams, Turkish market is number one here. However, what we can now see in other markets, and judging from the data, what's probably will happen in Turkey is the time spent will go up. We see right now that number of streams is really high. With about the same number of streams per visitor in Czech, they spend 4 hours. And with less number of streams in Denmark, they spend about the same. However, this is, of course, related to the content. Some time ago, still, online video was mostly short videos, joke videos. What we see now is that actually typical TV content, high-quality content, is coming more and more to the video. And this is what is taking over the content of online video in many markets right now. What if we compare video viewers with ordinary total internet users? We see that, again, men audience is a bit more represented. However, it's not so significant difference. I would say that data are rather similar. But it's interesting when we look at time spent and streams. For example, we see that men are also more active, viewing more content. However, women do spend more time. So they are watching a bit different content, probably, or just paying more attention to it. But this is what we can see, that not necessarily number of streams means that you spend more time. If we look at the age distribution, again, it's quite stable and quite comparable to the ordinary internet users. Still, yes, we can see that, let's say, the most active group on the internet is, of course, also adopting new things faster and being more active users of video online. And same about age groups. Again, we see that even though 18-24 age group is more represented, more time is spent by 15-17. So how big is actually online video? Imagine, let's put all the video sites together and look at it as category. And let's think how much such category would deserve from online budget. If we put all the video sites together, here we go with the ranking of all websites in Turkey. Google first, Facebook, YouTube, Live, and then there comes video. It would be number 5 website in terms of the reach, in terms of users. So how much should such site deserve as category? That's probably guess for you to understand really how much video is worth as category. And that's also for you, because I think that sometimes, especially when category is growing, there are many players, of course, which are competing among themselves, but it may be worth to work to some extent together and to bring the category up, to bring money to online video and then distribute among the players. And what will happen soon, also what's happening partially now, but mostly in the future, because now if we look back to online video, actually the trend started in about 2005 or 2006 when the YouTube was founded, and now it took like 6 years. It's taking like 5-7% from online budgets, so it does take time. And probably it's the same with mobiles. It's now on a big hype, it's popular, but I think that we all should take in account that it will take time until really the budgets will come there. What we can see also from the audience data, we have a question in our study about usage of mobile internet, is that number of mobile internet users are growing. August last year, January this year, August this year. This is, of course, declarative answer, and mostly people tend to, so it can be a bit higher maybe than in reality, but trend. Trend is important. It's growing. We can see it also from the other data. If we look at percentage of page use from mobile devices overall in the region, so here we have the average. This is the last year, year 2011. This is so figure of 2011. Average was close to 4%, with highest markets reaching to almost 10%. Now they are already a bit higher than 10%. Here we see that Turkey had around 2%. We check the data now, and it's already a bit more. It's 3% also, so it's growing from that perspective. However, still, it's probably not that much. It's a bit less than videos. But yes, it's present and it's growing. How do those mobile page views are distributed? If we look deeper, we can see that almost 30% only, actually, are done from tablets. And by far, the biggest part is done from mobile devices, so really from mobile phones. Even though from tablets, of course, it's more easy to generate big amount of page views. This is very interesting. We compared the activity of mobile internet users and ordinary internet users, and computers, mobile phones, and tablets. And this is the usage intensity during the day, during the normal average working day. What we see is that tablet and mobile users are using more intensively, which is also can be guessed in the morning. During the day, there is higher usage from PCs, also quite logical. And in the evening, again, big peak from mobile devices, especially tablets. If in the morning it was about the same, then in the evening, tablet is the tool for consuming internet. So, final notes from this presentation. First of all, internet in Turkey is not growing probably that fast as we would expect. However, it has reached really critical point, and this is the point which, when the development happens, 2/3 of all page use on Turkish internet are done by men. So be smart when you plan campaign for women audience. Maybe the answer is videos. As we saw, they are more engaged in the videos. Still, international sites are huge in terms of reach. However, local players can compete, and they do compete successfully with them, with local content. And video is big, and you decide how much should it be worth. And different target groups do differ a lot in terms of what they watch and how they watch. We saw it when we saw those differences in number of streams and time, that this is not the same age group. If the number of streams is highest, it doesn't mean that the same group will spend most time. And most likely, time spent online watching videos is about to go up. However, it's very related to the content. And mobile, yes, it's present, it's growing. Okay, it's not probably the right word to say that there is long way to go, but there is still way to go. Look back at the videos. It took some time. And we see that mobile users wake up earlier and go to bed later. And remember that a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Thank you very much for your attention. I'm open to any questions or discussions.